For a long time, I thought that beliefs were just a mindset thing. I was like, oh, I have worked with my beliefs already. It's all about deprogramming and programming again, and then affirmations and repetition and repeat, and finally I will embody my new version of self. And then when I got into spirituality, which actually was the first stage of actual spirituality, because spirituality is not woo stuff. Spirituality is life. A person walking on the street, walking their dogs, is no more spiritual than a spiritual teacher. That's just a person that chooses to take that role to play somewhat of a function in the relative level of life. So when I got into spirituality, I was like, why people have to work towards their beliefs when at the end, if we know that we are all one, that's it. There's no need to go deeper. But true spirituality comes from stop identifying with beliefs that are not in alignment with how God sees you, which means truth. So working with the mind, it is true spirituality, because the mind is just the ego. And the ego is anytime we choose to place an identity towards ourselves. Can be, oh, I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm a daughter, I'm a spiritual teacher, I'm a coach, I'm this, I'm that. You're none of that. You can choose to place a label in what you are, because that way people can relate to you and you can fulfill your function in this plane, etc. But what you truly are is just empty and full of love. Emptiness, nothingness, and full of divine love of the creator, of God, of source, of the universe. So when you know that, anything that's not that, that's not a belief that comes from excitement, passion, spontaneous creation. Oh, I feel so inspired to create this video. I feel so inspired to call this friend. I feel so inspired to open this new business. I feel so inspired to move to the other side of the world. All those beliefs are in alignment with truth when you choose to create and move forward with those belief systems. Any belief system that makes you feel contracted, that says you're not good enough, or you're not worthy, or maybe you get the inspiration and the truth from God, from source, saying, you have to do this next. And you're like, yes. And then some thought forms or voices of the past come up and say, but how dare you if you haven't accomplished something yet? Do you really think people are going to like you if you do that? What's your mom going to think? What's your family going to think? What are you going to do now if you change your whole life? Blah, 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 blah. All these doubts, those are the beliefs of the ego that wants to preserve itself. So it's about having discernment, not judgment, but discernment into which thought forms and fields that come through the vessel, the hologram of your being, are actually based in truth, in love, and goodness. So true spirituality is working with the mind, working with the beliefs, inquiring in, okay, is this true? Is this that I'm believing in alignment with God? The way God sees me. And anytime something comes up, and for me it was big one, the subtle judgments. It was like I could listen in the behind of my consciousness, not behind, but all over, subtle judgments whenever a situation popped up. And I'm like, why am I judging this experience? And that's why some people call it contemplative fitness, because it becomes like a regular practice that strengthens up a muscle in your consciousness, that every moment of your hologram, of your life, of your expression, you are in this state where you're questioning your beliefs. It's not like I'm going to set up meditation in the morning, in the afternoon, and before going to sleep, because then you are creating duality and separation in between the practice of spirituality, which is just life, and the practice of doing something else. And then that's not in alignment and can create anxiety, or like, oh, I have to do my practice, I have to meditate. And that's fine, because it serves a purpose. And it really helped me when I had that structure at some point of my journey. But what has served me the most is like in every scene of my life movie, I'm always having constant inquiry simultaneously as I'm existing and playing the role of the scene. It's kind of like being aware of awareness, which is the character, And also I can get out of that altogether and just be there. And it's just like an automatic program that I implanted, which is just like constant inquiry, but it's a program that serves me. At the end, that program just merges within your being, and you don't have to use it anymore because there's nothing to inquire, and then you just flow and you're constantly still and present and enjoy, or serious or neutral, but that's okay too. So how can you find out which beliefs are not in alignment with truth? Whenever you are in a scene, in a situation with people, it's always really challenging. It was for me to find out my most deepest, darkest, unconscious beliefs through reflections and powerful mirrors in my life. Because it's through people and relationships that some really cool stuff gets reflected. And it can be somewhat scary, but that's the thrilling part of it. Because then we have the opportunity to see ourselves through another aspect of God, and it's like a dance of the Creator. So whenever the belief comes up, the trigger, the contraction, then it's like, what am I believing about myself, about this situation, about the person? What does this means to me and my self-image and my life? And when we find out that juicy part of the ego that wants to hold on into, we can see its silliness, its unreality, and it becomes integrated into the whole of our hearts. So that's also a part of integration. It's like first, we are the ego, then we are the awareness. And at the highest level, and there's always higher levels, and then there's no levels at all, and I'm not the ego, I'm the awareness. And then you become the persona again, but with the knowingness of all that you learn through being the awareness. And then that becomes integrated whenever the beliefs from childhood programming, etc. come up. Now you know that you are not that. It's like neti, not this, not that, not this, not that. I am. I. Nothing. So when that happens, it's not to run from the belief. Oh, why did I say this? Oh, why do I feel contracted? No, fuck it. Doesn't matter. You feel that way? Beautiful. What to do now? What must I be believing about myself that is causing me, this me character, to believe that is separate from God, creating duality? Because it's only when we believe we're separate from another that we feel suffering. Not pain, because we can feel pain and be completely happy. Right now I have an intense energy here because I'm still integrating my masculine. So this area of the body in my process has dealt with the masculine energy, and this one with the feminine. And right now there is like a huge swirl of waves here that is disintegrating and coming out of my hand. But I can be completely at peace with that. As before, that would be like, oh, I can't even get out of bed because all those stories that I would have created towards that sensation, it's just a sensation. It doesn't mean anything. But before, I would use that as an excuse to attach unconscious beliefs that I still like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I can't make this work, or I need to stay in bed, or blah, blah, blah. When you don't have that belief, that story, that charge in whichever sensation you're experiencing, may it be bliss, ecstasy, when you attach an story of romanticizing a person or a situation, or, oh, I need this because this makes me feel so good. Yes, it's kind of like a program that humans stem to go towards things that make them feel good and go away from pain. But isn't it beautiful to be in such equanimity that it doesn't matter if you are in pain or your nervous system is on fire or you are in complete bliss, ecstasy, but it's the same. It's the completeness, the wholeness of acceptance of every moment in whatever it brings to you, without any attachment, without any story, and being okay with that. And when that muscle is fit enough, when it gets so much spiritual momentum, then you can do this thing of contemplative fitness. And in every scene of your movie, it will be automatic because you won't tolerate a contraction, because you would know how good it feels to be in alignment with truth.